Hi, I'm Gabriella.
And I'm Henley. We're going to look at why people act the way they do online.
And how to stay safe. Let's start with the different crimes that can happen in the virtual world.
First is ransomware. Hackers across the world can lock businesses out of their devices and systems. They encrypt their files, then they hold it for ransom. They can give them a sort of key to decrypt the data and make it accessible again. Sometimes they can't get their data back at all. When lots of businesses lose hundreds of thousands of pounds through a cyber attack, it can mean they have to put prices up, and that destabilises the way we buy and sell things. Cyber attacks can even affect NHS appointments or disrupt travel. There's also hacking into accounts. Get that two-factor authentication and a strong password. Phishing is where criminals who look like strangers send emails asking for security information and personal details, sometimes threatening to release really personal details. Report them and don't click on any of the links. Definitely don't give any of your data away, even if the threat seems real. You can also check official websites for emails companies would actually use to contact you. But emails can be spoofed, so they look official too. If you aren't expecting to be contacted, lots of places have helplines that you can use to check. Although these all happen virtually, they have real life impacts with real life consequences.
We can't talk about crime online without talking about gaming. Do you game?
Yeah, I use Roblox with my friends, even my younger brother plays it, and I've been playing it for years now. I even pay for upgrades. But Roblox has seen a lot of controversy. We asked Roblox to comment, but they refused to give us a quote on the record. They instead pointed us to their safety features, including age verification, facial age estimation, chat filters, reporting, parental controls and more. Los Angeles County government sued Roblox, alleging the platform failed to protect children from grooming, exploitation and sexually explicit content. A regulator in the Netherlands investigated Roblox to see if it was doing enough to protect children.
I learned a lot about different gaming communities at an expo with Tilda, a gamer from Brighton, to talk safety and community. Hi Tilda, thanks for coming all the way from Brighton today. I know you're a big gamer, so maybe you can help me investigate what's going on in the world of gaming.
Definitely. Being at the gaming convention is the perfect place to explore the best parts of gaming and how young people can stay safe online. Do you like gaming? You do.
So my name is Reed, and I play a character named Echo in a show called Arcane, but I also play him in like all of the League of Legends games and stuff, and so we have like the RPG game and we have a fighter game. My first PS5 that I got, I stayed on for like 7 days straight.
Do you think gaming's safe enough for young people?
Everybody remembers that we're here to have fun, we're here to play and, you know, develop our skills and stuff. There's no hate involved. I also think it's like probably not telling as much of their personal information and just like staying within the bounds of the game, you know, as opposed to being like, wow, there's like a bird outside on my street, 5:15. You know, you don't have to say all of that to have a good time, you know.
It's clear to see that the community, including all the indie games from new creators, to what was everyone's favourite part of gaming.
I'm dressed up as Toad from Super Mario. My hat, it was sweet.
What do you say the best part of gaming is for you?
There are so many different choices of games, different genres. You will always find something that you will fall in love with, and the ability to then share that with other friends.
My name's Ali, part of the Vampire's Manor. It's not just watching everything happen. You get to press the buttons, you get to move the character around, you actually get to be in it.
The video game right now, it allows the young generation, the children, to create, develop, to become who they want to become.
There are so many positives, but we still need to know the dangers and what's being done to protect young people. Andrew from PlaySafe joined us for a game.
Do you think gaming's safe enough for young people?
At the moment, if you were caught, let's say, doing something inappropriate in a game, you could get your account banned, but then you could just create a new account and come straight back in. And that's one of the big challenges. Building relationships with people to scam them, try to get money or coins or items or whatever out of them.
How do they get to the stage to be able to do it?
If I become your friend, for example, on a game, and then we start messaging on Instagram or Snapchat, the game can't see that. The game can't moderate that. The game can't be held accountable for that.
I play some games like Adopt Me where there's quite a lot of scamming. It's like impossible to win, or they just leave the game after they take your pet. Games like Total Drama, I feel like it can kind of turn into quite an abusive game, but it's also like a really fun game.
How do you track your online safety act helps for companies to take accountability?
At its core, what the Online Safety Act is trying to do is put the put the responsibility on tech companies for the first time, the fines are enormous, like tens of millions of dollars worth of fines or pounds worth of fines.
How important would you say gaming is?
I grew up in a very rural area. There weren't very many buses. Gaming was huge for me. My grandma passed away when I was quite young, and when I was sad about it, it was playing a game and talking to my mates about it online that helped me deal with a lot of that stuff.
If you ever just want to, talk to someone, it's like there's going to be someone there. I think that's really nice. That, like, I'm growing up in a world like that.
It's good to see that companies are trying.
Ofcom regulates social media companies and makes sure they're doing everything they can do to keep young people safe.
Ofcom also found that 7 in 10 teenagers had seen or heard harmful content online.
Which isn't surprising. I spoke to NSPCC to find out more about safety online. What sort of things could people who are in control put in place?
Really important that we actually put the responsibility on the companies instead of on the young people.
All it takes is a split second for someone to post it, and the regulations haven't got there quick enough. Murders.
Yeah.
Murders.
Literally.
Fight videos.
I saw the murder of Charlie Kirk.
Same.
Free speech? Yeah, they have the freedom of speech to boo you. That's right.
Same.
I was scrolling and all of a sudden it's right in front of you.
No one regulated that. Like that really messed me up for a couple of days because I was just so angry about that. I was just like, why? How is these companies not doing anything?
It takes the innocence out of people.
It really does.
It does.
And when you're already feeling like that, you are even more vulnerable to posts about depression, self-harm, suicide, because it impacts you. The best that I've seen right now is Pinterest. You can't search self-harm. It will not have any results, and it will direct you to a helpline. You can be a really big company, but you can do this.
Yeah.
If you have the ability and you don't, then that's on you.
Yeah.
When people struggle.
Deepfakes is a rising issue.
Videos like porn, for instance, it's just so available for people. I really saw a lot of my old friends at my old school. People's views were so skewed on it. There's so much addiction, and it was literally just because it was there.
You can really see the difference between a male and a female's mind.
Yeah.
And it's crazy.
And a lot of that is because of what's being recommended.
And because of the stereotyping.
So, how do we move forward, especially for those who become victims of crime on social media? When Nelly was 14, she sent nudes to her boyfriend on Snapchat. He sent them to another site and downloaded them so she wasn't notified. When they broke up months later, he shared the images online. She got messaged every day, and a stranger even blackmailed her. I spoke to Nelly and Lewis from the NSPCC about the crimes that happen every day on these platforms.
I think it's really easy to become a victim of cybercrime. When I was 15, I had nude images of myself shared by my then ex-boyfriend around my secondary school. I reported this to the police after quite a few months of trying to deal with it by myself, but unfortunately no further action was taken.
How did this affect you mentally?
It was absolutely devastating. I was really young at the time, and like a lot of teenagers can relate, insecure about the way I looked, and having this many people see me in a really vulnerable way was really, really horrible and really scary, and it did massively affect my mental health, and I was so anxious that I couldn't go to school, and I actually started losing my hair from the stress. The NSPCC's report remove tool wasn't around then. Having your nude images shared had only been illegal for a couple of years at this point.
If, for example, a nude image has been shared, report remove means that you can report that image in an anonymous way, and any time that someone tries to share that image again, it immediately is detected and taken down. What we see from the NSPCC perspective is concerningly that there's been an increase in a lot of online offences, sexual extortion, so kind of online blackmail. Children can now be targeted with AI generated images as well.
What advice would you give to young teenagers now?
Really holding these social media companies accountable. They earn a lot of money from you using their platform, and really they owe it to you. There's no shame in being victimised online, and really the best thing that young people can do is have these open and honest conversations like we're having today.
In my research, I found that although being online doesn't show physical harm, it can impact people psychologically. Someone being stalked or harassed in person is scary, but what about happens to you in the game or in the metaverse? It's still scary and there's still harm.
Today we're going to learn how people can be hateful online. So we've come to an art class in Slough. Content creator Melissa joined me, and she's been working with charity Cybersmile to campaign for control over our algorithms, so we don't see hate and harmful content. They even went to Downing Street and spoke to the Prime Minister.
I am worried about algorithms because it is too quick for young people to go to material they shouldn't be accessing, and we can't leave young people to try and self-police it.
The artists we met shared their thoughts about our feeds.
We actually ran a behavioural experiment. Adult test accounts were exposed to harmful content as little as 16 seconds, and the child accounts encountered harmful content within 8 minutes. So that's without liking anything.
What are your reactions to hearing about that?
I think it was surprising to hear for me. I think a lot of the time I spend online, I'm exposed to a lot of racist, misogynistic or homophobic content.
They deserve so much better from social media.
Do you personally agree with the under 16 ban of social media?
I think the ban was a bit extreme, considering on how many useful uses social media has.
Let's say you're gay and you don't know any people in real life. It reminds you that you're not alone and that people like you. I think it definitely keeps people educated.
So do you say the government's blinded by all the negative instead of looking at the positive?
Yeah.
But if you're letting people that are under 16 be uninformed, there's a lot of racism going on in the real world. So you're essentially trying to make young people be blind to what's happening.
After the break, we're going to take a closer look at cybercrime and being online in our Generation Cyber group chat.
Welcome back to Generation Cyber.
In this episode's group chat, we went to Waterstate and Greenwich Schools partnership in Kent.
I spoke to Police Constable Callum, Cybercrime Officer DC Dowell, Member of Parliament for Chatham and Elsford Tristan, as well as content creator Joy.
Then 4 students had the turn to talk about how they navigate the online space.
I guess I want to start off with gaming and online safety. What happens if something does happen to you? If we do contact the police, how will the police help in those circumstances?
Block those people in the first instance, but as we all know, sometimes people are crafty and they'll create a new profile and carry on that behaviour. Well, that is a crime. That it could be harassment. If you're feeling that bothered that it's upsetting you, it can be an actual criminal offence, and you report that to the police. We can find out who people are online. It's not somebody just put a fake name, so that's it. They can hide behind that. We regularly talk to TikTok and to Facebook, to Meta, and they will tell us, oh, this is our subscriber, this is their phone number, and this is their address. And then we can go and speak to those people. I'm not saying those people are going to get sent to prison. We're not sending 11-year-olds to prison for being horrible online, but we'll certainly be spoken to by the police at the very least.
Hi, so what's your name?
My name is Betty.
Hi Betty, and how old are you?
I'm 11 years old.
And what's your question for the expert panel today?
My question is, as an influencer, what do you do when you get hate?
I think when it comes to protecting yourself from online hate, I think when you're posting a lot, that kind of opens you up to potential hate. And I think one thing that's important is to have a strong sense of self and a support system and positive influences. I've been subject to racial abuse, people saying the worst of the worst, but what really helped me was being surrounded by amazing Black women and having that strong sense of self within who I am as a person, to the point where I read the comment and understand that this is coming from someone who is miserable or has, views that obviously I don't share. My favorite button is the block button. It's my page. If I don't want to see something, if it's affecting me negatively, I block, I delete. And talking to your support system, your friends, your family, sometimes comments do bother me, and I'm always the first to run to my partner and tell him that.
And since you're the local MP, what does the government do to keep young people safe online?
We're doing a number of things. First of all, the Online Safety Act, which means that we're restricting content, inappropriate content, to people under the age of 18, so that you don't have to see some of this. We're also giving training to teachers, my former profession, to ensure that where you are getting people exploiting you online or approaching you online, you can divulge that privately to teachers, and then we can follow that up with the police.
Hi, so what's your name?
I'm Teddy.
Hi Teddy, and how old are you?
I'm 11.
And what's your question for the panel today?
What's the rates of cyberbullying since social media and AI has came around?
It's actually a really interesting question, so let's see what the panel say.
Online bullying is a real problem. The fact that our phone devices now have access to us 24/7 and people have access to us and can engage with us at all times of day.
How are you holding social media companies to account, particularly in regards to the Online Safety Act?
It puts blockers on any inappropriate websites that you might be able to access. So you would have to be over 18 to access particular content. Companies that don't follow the rules on that will get fined up to £17 million per interaction. So that's a significant amount of money which they're not going to want to lose. The government can take these websites offline completely.
I don't know if you've seen recent news about Elon Musk's AI model called Grok and how it's sort of creating deep fake images of women, girls and children. How is the government able to step in and sort of handle that?
Yeah, so for those who don't know, Grok is an AI platform which you can ask to do anything. In this case, individuals are requested that people remove clothing from adults, but also had the feature for children as well. That is entirely inappropriate. And so the government made it very clear to Elon Musk that if his company did not withdraw that optionality on Grok, that they would potentially not only be fined, but X would be removed from people's access in the UK. We have to act to protect, and I'm thankful that Elon Musk has accepted that these features were unacceptable and he's taken that feature off. So it does show you that pressure can be applied and we can do the right thing.
Hi, what's your name? Kobe Joe. How old are you? 11. And what's your question for the panel today? Why are you for video games?
Quite prominent games in the gaming world that people might have heard of, such as Grand Theft Auto 5 is an 18 because of the range of stuff that it has in it. But you might find that other games that are less violent and more sort of mature might be a little bit more sort of towards the age of 12.
Yeah, so there's evidence because games now are really immersive and they're really realistic. So, and we've just got to be aware that some people might take the game experience and try and act it out in real life, or think that the behaviours in those games are how people should be acting. And though most people won't do that, sadly there are some that do. So we do have to have these thresholds to protect people from inappropriate content.
Hi, so what's your name, how old are you, and what's your question for the expert panel today?
Hi, my name's Eloise, I'm 11, and my question is, how will we be able to restrain cyberbullying in the long run?
That's actually really good, and I've always wondered that too.
My team specifically, who work within schools, we are there in order to assist and support. There is a schools officer that's allocated for all different schools in Kent, and for us, it's been a really important thing to be able to speak to you all individually about things that are happening. We are here in order to help.
So there's currently a big conversation that's happening with young people, with teachers and others about access to mobile phones. So we all know that in schools we shouldn't be having them, but we are going to be looking at tightening those rules up, and also about whether or not social media should be accessible for under 16s as well, because we are beginning to see lots of negative consequences on people because of bullying, but also access to material and betting and other types of behaviours that are occurring.
Thanks for joining me today on the student panel. Did you learn anything new from the experts?
I mostly thought about how Parliament and police officers can get involved. I thought that was nice to know.
Do you think the police and Parliament could do anything more to help with cybercrime?
They're trying, but they don't. There's a lot of people who can find a way around it. Like they would go through getting different accounts on different devices, or they could be using VPN.
Would you all feel comfortable to go to police?
Of course.
Yeah.
Obviously, because obviously there's different versions of cybercrime that they would need to know about.
Do you think you have enough of a say in what happened to do with the Parliament with cybercrime?
As a child, not really. As a young person, because I feel like it's quite hard, because sometimes I feel like I don't know what I'm thinking or what to say or what I don't know, if that makes sense.
Obviously you have your own voice and you should use your own voice when you've got the opportunity to, but I don't think our voices would be heard more than people older than us.
I think when you're younger, you're not really taken seriously.
So does anyone here game or play games?
I do.
Yeah.
Not when I'm feeling stressed, but when I feel lonely, I often do then probably play a few games.
Do you think it's a comfortable, welcoming place to be on?
I think it's very comfortable because different games differ from others. You have online games where strangers can still contact you, message you. I think that is quite strange. but most of the games that I'm in contact with are very story-based. I enjoy myself when I play them.
When you go on social media, is it a safe environment to be in?
No.
Why is this?
I think there's a lot of like misogyny everywhere, like in a lot of topics that I find quite a lot, which is a bit hurtful. And then also like a lot of racist stuff I see all the time, and it's just really sad to know that people are just spiteful like that and they just share it around. And there's some apps that will allow that due to the guidelines and stuff.
What were your experiences on social media?
I have had WhatsApp used differently and how it shouldn't have, but I think like the guidelines don't pick it up if you have had that experience.
Obviously, it's really different. So it really depends on like the different point of views of what kind of like side you're on social media, because you could be on like the good side where you've got like all the positive people, and then obviously a lot of people around our age are in the negative zone.
Do you have any younger siblings that use WhatsApp and other social media?
Yeah.
Yes.
She's not very on WhatsApp most of the time. I notice she's always on TikTok, which is great because she has a private account. She adds people who only she knows, which I think is great because we need more younger people like that who don't, or families that watch over the young ones, if that makes sense. Because having parents that just allow their kids to do all this stuff without being safe can, I think, affect them in the future.
On WhatsApp you can update your status, like sharing pictures. So do you feel comfortable in your sister using this?
Most of the time, but she doesn't talk about it. Like, I don't know, and I feel like now I should be more aware because of what today is like with AI and the rest of that. Because I think social media is becoming more hurtful because it's more being used.
Do you think there's more positives or negatives with social media?
It's a bit in the middle because, say for example, Snapchat, you can add a random person, and if you have Snap Maps open, they can find your location. But whereas it's sort of like WhatsApp, you can contact your friends, and when COVID happened, that would have been a massive thing to have to see people online, so you wouldn't have gotten lonely.
About the Snap Map things, there is actually an option to only show it to some certain people, so that's a good thing. What I think Snapchat's done well.
Now that you're all older, do you wish you did something different when you started on social media when you were younger?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Why?
Well, because I've realised that when I was younger, I didn't actually realise the harms of what, like, if I was talking to someone online who I obviously did not know, I didn't know that what the risks would be.
I think it's a way for them to feel like powerful, but it can also, they don't think about what the other person might feel with their mental health.
Thank you for joining me today on the student panel.